The Bucs are looking the healthiest they've been in a while ahead of their wild card matchup against the Washington Commanders. That and more on today's episode of Locked On Bucs.
You are Locked On Buccaneers, your daily Tampa Bay Buccaneers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, and welcome into this live preview episode of Locked On Bucs, your daily podcast covering the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I want to thank you for making Locked On Bucs your first listener view every day. Don't forget you can subscribe or follow for free on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. And of course, you can follow along on Twitter. I am James Yarcho at JYarcho_Bucs, credentialed member of the media covering your Tampa Bay Buccaneers, here with you every Monday through Friday, along with the everydayers. And for that, I want to share my appreciation for your continued support of the show. One of the ways you can support the show is become a Locked On Bucs insider. You're going to get news, rumors, updates, general thoughts, one-on-one conversations with me via text message. Go to joinsubtext.com/LockedOnBucs to become an insider today. This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL. Use code LockedOnNFL, all lowercase, to get $50 instantly when you play $5. A very happy Mike Evans Day to all of you that celebrate such things. And if you're watching or listening to the show, you obviously do. So hope you enjoy that. We have the keys to victory and predictions coming up in a little bit. But let's start with the big news for, for the Buccaneers. And that is Antoine Winfield Jr. and Jamel Dean appear to be on track to play this Sunday against the Commanders, as does tight end Cade Otton. These would all be huge additions for the Bucs in their wild card matchup to bring some much needed production back to both sides of the ball. Now, Antoine Winfield Jr. has been out for over a month, having left the game against the Las Vegas Raiders with a knee injury. He was a full participant in practice all week long. He looks ready to roll. The other good news there is that Mike Edwards, who's dealing with a quad injury that he suffered against the Saints, was limited on Wednesday and Thursday before being a full go on Friday. He looks ready to go. So that puts Winfield and Edwards back there at the safety spots for the Bucs against Washington. As for Jamel Dean, he missed he's missed the last few games with a knee injury. But after he was limited on Wednesday and Thursday, he was a full go on Friday. That helps the Bucs a lot. I know Dean has had his issues, but you just go back as far as last week against the New Orleans Saints. Spencer Rattler hyper-targeted whoever Josh Hayes was covering. That will not be the case this time around. So whether it's Zion McCollum on Terry McLaurin and Jamel Dean on Zacchaeus or vice versa, you have much better outside coverage against the Commanders receivers than you had against the Saints last week. When Todd Bowles was asked about the statuses of Winfield, Dean, and Otton, and he said, quote, Antoine and Jamel are fine. Cade is trending the right way. We'll see how he recovers, end quote. Otton was limited on Wednesday. He was a full participant on Thursday and Friday with that knee injury. So I would say he's going to play in this one. But the nice thing here, while the Bucs would love to have him back in the mix, be that third down guy that Baker relied on so much as he continued to come through in the clutch, whether Mike Evans and Chris Godwin were both out, even after Mike Evans returned, Cade Otton was that third down guy. He was consistently getting big-time catches, taking big-time hits. But the nice thing here is that if he plays, the Bucs will not have to rely on him quite as much. Payne Durham and Devin Culp stepped up big time in Cade Otton's absence, and both have been reliable guys for Baker Mayfield in the passing game. So while Otton was the every down, nearly every snap guy for the Bucs at tight end before the injury, now Liam Cohen can have a lot of confidence to give Otton snaps off and then replace him with Durham or Culp or a combination of the two, and he knows that the job is still going to get done in the pass game. The only other player on the Bucs injury report with a designation was Logan Hall. He joins Winfield, Edwards, Dean, and Otton as questionable for Sunday's game. He did miss practice on Wednesday with a groin injury. He was limited on Thursday and Friday. Looks like he is going to be good to go. For the Commanders side, the only player on their injury report with a designation is wide receiver Jamison Crowder. He is questionable with a hamstring injury. That means, yes, ladies and gentlemen, Marshon Lattimore will play on Sunday. Lattimore has been dealing with a hamstring injury basically since before he was even traded to Washington, but he was a full participant in practice on Wednesday and Thursday. He was given Friday off to rest. So we do have Mike Evans versus Marshon Lattimore in prime time, which of course will bring some fireworks of its own. Look, Lattimore has been the one guy that could consistently shut down Mike Evans. Evans had his moments and his wins in that matchup for sure, but Lattimore has gotten the better of Mike more often than not. However, Lattimore has been injured most of this season. Mike has the most receiving yards in the NFL since week 11, so he is on an absolute heater. I think this is a game where Evans is going to have the upper hand. It's going to be really tough to come into this game if you're Marshon Lattimore and turn that dial all the way up to 10. Now, that doesn't mean that I think Baker should force targets to Evans. I'll get to more about that in a little bit. But I think Evans is going to find himself with plenty of opportunities to make plays in this game. Washington Marshon is not New Orleans Marshon, and I think that'll be on display in this game. Other injured players for the Commanders, you have Jeremy Chin, Frankie Louvu, Cleveland Farrell, Tyler Biadasz, and Brandon Coleman. They're all good to go in this game. This one is going to be a battle, folks. It's going to add some gray hairs to your head for sure. This is not going to be a walk in the park. This is not going to be a 37-20 win like it was in week 1. This is going to be tough. Marshon Lattimore coming back makes it a little bit tougher. You have, Zacchaeus, who has come on strong. You have Jamison Crowder. Although he's questionable, I think he plays. He's started to come on a little bit late in the year. You have Zachary. This Washington team is very, very good. But I think so are the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And it's hard to find. I talked to Evan about it earlier today. You'd be hard-pressed to find a team in the NFL as hot as the Buccaneers. And you can throw the records of the teams out the window that they played against. Winning 6 of your last 7 is tough to do in the NFL. This is going to be a really, really interesting game. Going to jump into the chat before we move on. We got my dude, Richard. He says, stressing this game, James. I get it. It's a playoff game. Like, we are now in do or die football, and stress is going to come with that. Destined for greatness. How cool is it that our left tackle is better than everyone else's? Just saying, yes, destined for greatness is referencing the fact that Tristan Wirfs is the first team all-pro left tackle in the NFL. He is the first player in NFL history to be a first-team all-pro right tackle and a first-team all-pro left tackle. He was the only Buccaneer that was named to the first or the second team in the all-pro voting. I understand there's some frustration around that. Look, I think Baker Mayfield was certainly in the conversation for All-Pro. Obviously, first and second team went to Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen. That's going to happen. I think Joe Burrow should have been an All-Pro. So it is what it is. But it is nice that Tristan Wirfs got some recognition that he sorely deserved. We got Richard in the chat. Can Zion shut down Scary Terry? I think he's going to give Terry McLaurin a run for his money, but we're going to have to see how the Bucs go up against Terry McLaurin in this matchup. You can go back to some of David's episodes of Locked On Commanders. Terry McLaurin, it's something like above 90% of the snaps is going to line up on the left side. So you're going to have kind of matchups created for you based on that. I don't think Todd Bowles is going to have Zion or Dean follow Terry McLaurin all over the field. But don't expect Terry McLaurin to be held to 2 receptions like he was the first time around. And then let's see. I did say in the chat, hook 'em horns, and Demon Hunter says, don't let Baker and Mike hear you say that. I think they would accept my reasoning for this game and this game alone. It's the only time that I'm going to say that, because I don't really like Texas either. But yeah, as we are live on this show, the Ohio State Texas game is about to kick off. Paul, aka OG Baker Bros, says, shout out to James and the Wolverine figure in the background. Happy Mike Evans Day to you both and all Locked On Bucs friends in the chat tonight. Paul, appreciate that. Yeah, I got Wolverine, I got Deadpool, I got Thrawn, I got Vader. I got all kinds of fun toys sitting behind me. It adds a little bit of flavor to the podcast. It adds a little bit of personality to who I am as a big giant nerd. But I'm going to tell you how the Bucs can minimize those gray hairs that I said are going to be put on your head on Sunday with the offensive and defensive keys to victory. That is next on today's episode of Locked On Bucs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. This is a message from our sponsor, Intuit TurboTax. Are you tired of the endless waiting, wondering, and worrying about your taxes? Well, now that's a thing of the past. You see, taxes don't need to be complicated or stressful. TurboTax is here to change the game by matching you with a TurboTax expert who can get to work on your return right away. No more waiting for answers. No more wondering if you're missing out on deductions. Whether you've got one form or 20, TurboTax experts give your taxes their undivided attention while you get real-time updates on their progress so you can focus on what really matters. You won't have to lift a finger, but you'll get the peace of mind knowing that your taxes are being handled by the pros. Ready for stress-free taxes and the most money back guaranteed? Head over to TurboTax.com today and get matched with your expert who's ready to take your taxes off your plate so you can focus on your day. Only available with TurboTax Live full service, real-time updates only on the iOS mobile app. See guaranteed details at TurboTax.com/guarantees. It's playoff time, and if you're like me, you want to make the most of these final weeks of football action. That's where Prize Picks comes in. If you love football and want the chance to win real money while watching the games, Prize Picks is the place for you. It's the best way to turn your sports opinions into cash with daily fantasy player projections. With Prize Picks, you simply click more or less on player stats like total passing yards, rushing touchdowns, for a shot to win up to 1,000 times your money. You can make your picks in less than 60 seconds, and whether you're looking for a flex play to boost your payout or want to cash out quickly, Prize Picks has got you covered. With over 10 million members and billions in winnings, it's clear that people are loving this platform. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code LOCKEDONNFL, all lowercase, all one word, to get $50 instantly after your first $5 lineup. That's right, $50 instantly when you play just $5. Prize Picks, run your game. Thank you again for making Locked On Bucs your first listener view every single day. Talking about the keys to victory in this game. And offensively, I know you all, every single one of you in the live chat right now, watching live, I know you expect me to talk about the running game and how the Bucs need to feed Bucky Irving. And that is 100% true. I think that is the biggest key in this one. David and I talked about that at length on the crossover episode. The Bucs have to give Bucky the ball a ton early on, really take advantage of the run defense that has been gashed most of the season. David expressed his concerns in that aspect of the game, and he knows that Bucky Irving is the X factor for the Bucs in this one. But I'm not going to rehash all of that as my key to victory for this show. I want to talk about a different key on the offensive side, and that's basically, in a nutshell, take what they give you. We all want to see Mike Evans just absolutely torch Marshon Lattimore in this game. I mean, just embarrass him, drop 102 touchdowns on him. But that's likely not going to happen. And Baker Mayfield needs to make sure that that isn't the focus of the team. That isn't the focus of the offense. Take what this pass defense gives you and do not force the ball anywhere. We love Baker's never say die attitude. He is the Goonie of the Bucs. Shout out to those of you who get that reference. He's not going to give up on a play. He's going to buy time, and he's going to rifle passes down the field. But this is a game where you absolutely cannot afford to turn the ball over by trying to force something that isn't there. Turnovers are what sends you home in the postseason. You have to protect the football. You have plenty of options outside of Mike Evans. Jalen McMillan has come on so strong in the last 5 games. 24 receptions. He's got 7 for touchdowns, 17 for first downs, over 320 yards. He is going to have a tough test against Mike Sainristil still, but he's still going to find spots where he gets open and is able to move the ball down the field. That was one of the things that we loved about him coming out of the draft. I talked about it a lot right after the draft and throughout the postseason, is how good he is, how refined he is at running routes and being able to get that little bit of separation that he needs against corners. He's going to have to do that on Sunday and give Baker a chance to find him down the field. You have Cade Otton coming back along with the uptick from Payne Durham and Devin Culp. All of these guys are so good at finding those little soft openings in coverage and getting receptions to gain some yards, to move the sticks, to create a 3rd and short opportunity. You have Sterling Shepard. As long as you don't target him in the first quarter, he's going to give you some big-time receptions and keep drives going. Trey Palmer, Ryan Miller, they have had some important contributions to this offense throughout the season. This doesn't have to be a game where you're launching the ball 20-plus yards down the field and trying to get big chunk plays. Take the 4 or 6 yards that Washington gives you on a pass to Cade Otton. Take a quick 3-yard out to J-Mac. Dump it off to Bucky or Rashad out of the backfield and let them use their legs to create more opportunity to get into space and to pick up yardage. Dink and dunk the crap out of them if that's what they're going to let you do. You have more than enough weapons to make that work for you when it comes to crunch time. Washington has the 22nd ranked red zone defense in the NFL. You combine that with their run defense that's only better than New Orleans and Carolina, you can dink and dunk your way up and down the field and then take advantage of a red zone defense that allows their opponent to score a touchdown on over 60% of their red zone trips. Just take what's there. Don't force the issue. Don't try to squeeze something into a window that's already closed, or you're going to create opportunities for Washington's offense to steal possessions. You can just keep chipping away and dink and dunk them to death, and then you're going to give Washington a slow, methodical, painful death by controlling the clock, controlling the tempo, and then you're wearing down their defense so that in the fourth quarter, that's when your playmakers like Bucky Irving, Rachaad White, Mike Evans, they can really explode late in that game. We saw it time and time again during this 7-game stretch where Bucky would explode for 70 or 80 yards from the end of the third and through the fourth quarter because those defenses were so worn down. So use that to your advantage. You're going to have opportunities. Just take what's there, and you are going to just painfully drag that defense up and down the field for long stretches. Defensively, it's all about Jayden Daniels. If I'm the Bucs, I am spying Jayden Daniels all game long. I don't care who's doing it. It could be Lavonte, it could be Antoine, it could be JJ. Shoot, have Shaq Barrett come out there on the field as a spy, or Chris Braswell. You need to have someone that has a little bit of speed to him so that when Jayden Daniels takes off, you have someone that can close the gap and be able to bring him down before he turns it into a 12-yard gain. But spy him all game long. Do not let him beat you with his legs, because he will. Think back to like the Mike Vick days where he was dominating teams on the ground, and then Derek Brooks would sit there and spy him, and then Vick couldn't get anything going in the run game, and the Falcons would implode on themselves. That's the way you need to approach this game. I expect Terry McLaurin to have a much bigger impact than he did the first time around. Zaccheaus has been a solid number 2. Crowder and Ertz have started getting involved the last few months, but it all starts with Jayden Daniels. Washington is not great at running the ball, despite how talented their backfield is, unless the person running the ball is Jayden Daniels. So once you turn them one-dimensional by either jumping out to a decent lead or shutting down Brian Robinson Jr., Austin Eckler, Jeremy McNichols, when you shut those guys down early in the game, that's when you can deploy the spy and make sure that Daniels doesn't single-handedly revive that rushing attack and make the offense two-dimensional once again. Look, Jayden Daniels is insanely talented. I love watching him play football, and I'm honestly really excited about his future and the future of the Commanders. But there's something about your first NFL playoff game that might cause some jitters. Jayden Daniels has played in plenty of big games in his life, so maybe he's not affected by it. But there's something very real about NFL playoff experience. Baker and these Bucs have far more of it than Washington does, and that could play a very big role. With experience comes knowledge, and they can't let Daniels take over the game like he did so many times this season. They certainly can't let Washington hang around close enough that Daniels is able to pull off more of his late game heroics. It starts and ends with making sure that Jayden Daniels stays in the pocket and you're forcing him to make decisions too quickly, forcing him to make bad decisions, or forcing him into mistakes. Going to jump into the chat again real quick before we move on. Randall says, Bucs need to control the game clock. It's that simple, 100%. And that's why you're giving the ball to Bucky Irving and you're dinking and dunking. You are dragging out these 12, 14, 16 play scoring drives that keeps that Washington defense on the field for as long as possible. Then you got to turn to your defense and say, we need a quick stop. We need a 3 and out. We need to get their defense back on the field as fast as possible. And this Bucs defense has done a really, really good job of getting off the field quickly in the second half of games over the last month plus. And then real quick, Danny says the Bucs allowing 26 second half points in the last 7 games. Yeah, they've allowed 9 in the last 5. So again, the defense has done a really, really great job of getting off the field late in games and keeping their offense on the field, keeping the opposing defense on the field. That's when we've seen the explosions from Bucky and Jalen and Mike. That's the key in this one. All right. Prediction time is coming up next. Start dropping your bold and score predictions in the chat. We are going to hit that next on Locked On Bucs. From big upsets to game-winning drives, the NFL playoffs are better with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. The FanDuel app gives you everything you need for live bets, same-game parlays, and so much more. They have tons of ways for you to pick up a W. I love betting on which players are going to score a touchdown and how many points each team is going to score. But you can do player props for yards, receptions, touchdowns. More than that, you can place bets on team points for a game, a half, or even a quarter. The Buccaneers are 3-point home favorites against the Commanders with an over-under of 50.5 and are currently sitting at plus 2,100 in the Super Bowl odds, just ahead of the Green Bay Packers, while the Detroit Lions are the new favorites at plus 320. Visit FanDuel.com to join today, and you're going to get started with $200 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com. Make this playoff season unforgettable with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Wrapping things up here on a live preview edition of the Locked On Bucs podcast. Real quick, I got to jump into the chat here because this is awesome. We have Storm Intercept Weather Network watching from the Bahamas. Go Bucs. Nassau, Bahamas Storm Rescue Team 118 are big fans of the Bucs. Thank you all so much for what you do, for going out there and helping people that are in need as part of a storm rescue team. We appreciate what you guys do. I know the people that you are helping appreciate what you do. And I certainly appreciate you guys tuning in from the Bahamas. You guys are the absolute best. All right, we are going to get into these predictions. I'm going to start off with my player prediction. In this one, it's Lavonte David. He is the defensive leader. He is the underappreciated star. He is the overlooked player for the last decade plus in the NFL. This is the guy that has to set the tone on defense. I just talked about needing to make sure that Jayden Daniels does not take over this game. Lavonte David is the key to making sure that that doesn't happen. He had just 6 tackles in the first game against Washington. That's going to at least double in this game. He is going to have his hands full keeping an eye on Daniels as having to deal with Zach Ertz. But this is the kind of game where we know Lavonte is going to step up and do something special. It might be a sack in a key moment. It might be a forced fumble. It might be a tackle on a key third down to get the defense off the field. But you know that Lavonte is going to do something big at a crucial moment. He is going to be my predicted player of this game. My bold prediction, the Bucs win the turnover battle. I think Baker takes care of the football in this game. He knows that this offense can create mismatches all over the place. It's just about finding the right one on any given play. I think he's going to be very self-aware, not force things when there's nothing there. This game has the feel of one where Baker completes a pass to like 8 or 9 different receivers, and I think that's what is going to be because of what I said in the keys to victory, that he's going to take what Washington gives him. It doesn't matter if it's Mike. It doesn't matter if it's Ryan Miller. It doesn't matter if it's Trey Palmer or Devin Culp. He's going to take what's there, and he is going to just, methodically move the ball up and down the field. Baker doesn't turn it over in this game, and I think the defense comes up with a big second half takeaway, which they have not done nearly enough this season. As far as the score prediction, look, the Bucs are 3-point home favorites. We all know that you get 3 points for being the home team, so the odds makers are essentially calling this one a pick-em. I think the experience, the situation, and the moment is going to be just a little too big for Washington and their young core. This is a team with a very, very bright future, but while they have some tested veterans, they have some guys on their team that have been in the playoffs before and have had some success, but this Bucs team is playing really, really good football at the right time. When you win 6 out of your last 7 games, I don't care who the opponents are. Winning 6 out of 7 down the stretch in the NFL is incredibly difficult and very impressive. The Bucs have had a playoff mentality for the last 2 months because they knew what they had to do in order to be in this situation. Baker had another career year. He broke Tom Brady's franchise record for passer rating in a season. He nearly caught his franchise single season touchdown record. Evans got a streak. Bucky is the best rookie running back in the league. The defense stood up and stood tall, allowing 9 points in the second half over the last 5 games. And they quietly worked their way into the top 5 in the NFL in run defense. I think this is a game where they get the job done and they move on to face the Philadelphia Eagles. Evan predicted a 28-25 Bucs win. He said he's sticking with it. He's even more confident now based on the Winfield and Jamel Dean news. I am saying 31-23 Bucs. I think Daniels is going to make some magic happen in the first half before the Bucs defense rises to the occasion in the second half. This game is going to feel a lot closer than that score, but the Bucs get the job done on the back of Bucky Irving, who I think ends up in the end zone twice in this game. Let's get into some of your predictions. Reginald says bold prediction is the Bucs get 5 sacks. I love that. We got Johnny says 30-27 Bucs. We got Bucs fans saying 31-24. Lakita says 28-24 Bucs. I hope the Bucs pull it off. Danny says the Bucs win 34-31. McLaughlin with a walk-off kick. I love that. ILLINI. Demon Hunter says 38-24. Tampa heads to the divisional round. David says 33-26 Bucs, but only that close because Washington scores late to make it look closer than it actually was. So kind of the opposite of what I said. Demon Hunter says that Antoine Winfield, player of the game is Himfield with 2 interceptions. Destined for greatness. Bucs defense gets 3 takeaways, including a scoop and score. The Storm Intercept Weather Network says 32-9 Tampa. predicting the blowout. I love it. I hope you're right. I don't want to add any more gray hairs to this. You guys wonder why I wear hats all the time? It's because I got all these gray hairs popping up here, and I still feel like I'm too young at heart to have that many. Bry says 32-27 Bucks. Commanders get a few garbage time points. Bucky goes for 120 and 2. Danny says David with a key forced fumble recovered by Winfield. My goodness, you guys are blowing up these predictions. Scotty J says bold prediction: our punter hits one backwards. I don't like that bold prediction. Why would you put that out in the universe, Scotty J? Why? That's not okay. And then the last one we're going to get to, Aaron says 29-17 Bucks, another second half shutout. I love that. All right, that is going to do it for this episode of Locked On Bucs. Again, thank you all so much who came through on the live. I know I'm competing with the college football playoffs, so I appreciate you guys jumping in to talk about the Bucs without the K, not watch the Bucs with the K. Of course, you can check out everything going on Twitter at Locked On Bucs, at @Yarcho_Bucs. Make sure you're subscribed on YouTube with the notifications turned on. You'll know when I go live after the game. Yes, I will be live after the game. It'll be very, very late, but hopefully it'll be worth it because we'll be talking about the Bucs moving on to the divisional round. So subscribe on YouTube, turn on those notifications, and of course, to subscribe wherever you get your podcast. Become a Locked On Bucs insider. Go to joinsubtext.com/LockedOnBucs or click the link in the show notes. Hope you all have an absolutely outstanding weekend. Stay safe, stay healthy, fire the cannons. Want to thank you so much for joining me right here on Locked On Bucs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.